going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And well, today is hopefully going to be an exciting day. I guess we'll find out. But today, and then this video, we are going to see if we can get this thing running. We're going to try to start the motor today. It's going to be kind of nerve-wracking and exciting all at the same time. Hopefully we don't run any problems right off rip, you know, like I got to get fuel in it. Got to fire the fuel pumps on. We got to make sure there's no fuel leaks anywhere. Probably one of the first things I should do is actually put oil in the engine so I don't forget. And yeah, there's some small things that we need to do. You know, make sure, like, get a battery in it, turn the key, make sure that the pumps actually come on, because I don't even know if the pumps fire on yet. I don't even know if I wired everything right. So I kind of got to go over all the wiring, fuel lines, all of that jazz to make sure that everything is good to go, and we don't have leaks and whatnot and all that random jazz everywhere. But then we should be able to hopefully put fuel in it, prime it, or whatever. We'll already know, because I'm rambling at this point. Once we know that there's no fuel leaks, and everything's good, there's oil, all that jazz, we should be able to turn the key on this thing, and hopefully it will fire, and hopefully we have a running motor. So I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get this outside, get the door open, get some light in here, and start working on this thing. So let's get after it. Alright, so I got 5 quarts of oil in the engine. I just put in, I don't know what that was, maybe a gallon or two of E85. I'm not going to fill the tank, it's pointless because I'm going to have to get the E out of it, but I figured I want enough in there that I can prime the fuel system and let it run for a bit. So I figured just throw whatever was in the one can is full, the other one was like a quarter, so maybe a gallon, maybe 2 gallons of gas there, or E85. So it should be enough. It should be enough to try to fire this thing up anyways. So yeah, so we got oil, got fuel. Now I just need a battery in it, and then turn the key and see what actually powers on this thing, because who knows. I mean, I wired it. I do need to put ADD there for a minute. I do need to put coolant in too. Not as super important, but I am going to fill the radiator up before we let it idle. That way I don't have to really worry about it overheating or anything. I can just let it sit here and run. But for now, I want to get power on the car and see if the gauges all come on and all of that, because the oil pressure gauge, we need to make sure that works, so we can kill ignition and fuel, and then crank the engine and make sure we have good oil pressure on the gauge, because if we don't have a good oil pressure on the gauge, we're not going to have this thing running. So yeah, I'm going to put a battery in. So we got power. I don't know why the taillights are on right away. Doesn't make any sense. Should have been. I'll have to look at that. I don't have any power here, so whatever I wired that into is clearly not right. I'll have to redo the power on that. But we have power on other 2 gauges, which is good. And the CD7 powered on. So far so good there. I do also want to check power down here before I plug the ECU in. And maybe that could be part of why we're having wiring goofy stuff, because that thing's not even plugged in yet. But so far so good. Let's see if I can figure out why this thing's not coming on. And I'm gonna grab multimeter and check down here. I just want to check for the 5-volt reference and make sure I got that wire right. Alright, so I figured out that the brake switch needs to be adjusted. That's why the brake lights are on. Turn the power back on. And when I first turned the power on this thing, I didn't go all the way to key on engine off. So we do have power here. This is working. Everything seems to be working right. Even our power is on down on our CPR kit. Doesn't have sync because, well, I have to just.
A few moments later.
Really hate GoPros. 63% battery and the thing dies on me. Anyways, got all that figured out. Finally got this thing to take the base map, so should be good there. Pretty much, I think I'm at the point where I can crank this thing and see what happens. At least, well, see if we have oil pressure. I mean, because the ignition is
2 very boring minutes later.
Alright, this GoPro battery has died on me twice now, but I think we finally got it. Alright, so base map finally loaded, I believe. Should be good there. We got power on our CPR kit, but ignition's disconnected at the distributor, and I pulled the relays out of the fuel pump wiring so that fuel doesn't prime yet, because we want to see if we have good oil pressure. So we are going to I don't know, I think we're just going to try to crank this thing, guys, see what happens. Alright guys, I'm going to explain something here real quick, just because it might not make sense to a lot of you. While I was cranking the engine, hoping to see oil pressure on this gauge, I didn't account for the fact that power was being cut to the gauge. As you can see, the gauge is no longer illuminated, and if you look past it, you can see that the CD7 is no longer powered on. I didn't account for this, and I got confused to why I wasn't seeing oil pressure, and I thought maybe it was because the starter didn't have enough, RPM to crank the oil pump fast enough to get oil up all the way to the gauge, which technically it should if you crank long enough. I should have seen oil pressure here, but the power was cut to the gauge, and without power, it's not going to register what the sensor is telling it. So, in case you guys were wondering why there's no oil pressure here, that would be why. We just don't have power on the gauge. If this thing were to pop off, we should almost instantly see oil pressure. We moved on, and I did prime the fuel system. So far I've gotten fuel all the way up to the regulator, and I can only imagine that it's returning down the line. And well, we only have one leak, which is good, but it's the fuel filter itself. It's clearly it's not sealing right. The grams filter I have, the element inside is replaceable, and the cap on the end is leaking. It's dripping fuel. So obviously I don't have another fuel filter here, so I'm thinking that I might just still continue to try to fire it up, knowing that that thing is dripping a little bit. Ideally I wouldn't want to run that obviously like that, but for the sake of trying to see if this thing runs, I think we might just press, because I can't get a fuel filter here, overnight, and I can't buy one uptown, so I might just push on through it. But yeah, other than that, when we're making fuel pressure, pumps are running right, correct. Like, I might even be able to show you the leak here. Look down. Yeah, so not sure if that got picked up, but it is dripping fuel, which is super freaking annoying because it's the only place that is freaking dripping fuel. Fucking pissed me off. Anyways, yeah, I think I don't know, we might hook this up and send it, see what happens. Fingers crossed.
it's not working. The battery's dead.
Wait. What do you mean it's dead?
I mean the battery's dead. The battery's dead.
What do you mean the battery's dead?
How can I explain this to you differently? The battery is dead. It ceased to live. It's deceased now. The car needs a battery to start, Saul.
Fucker. Alright, what's going on, guys? It is the next day. Got a little frustrated with the car last night. It almost ran, which you guys just seen in the clips. It did fire. It ran for a split second. But not enough to really verify that everything is good, you know. Oil pressure didn't even register yet on the gauge, and I feel like this thing has to be building oil pressure. I don't really see how it couldn't be. So, yeah, I needed to run a little bit more. But I ran into the problem. The starter quit freaking working. And, yeah, that was a little frustrating. And it was getting late at night, and I was just kind of over it at that point. I did, however, just come out, and I went down to the starter. I pulled off the wire for the signal. I pulled off the signal wire and just jumped it right straight to power, and the starter does engage. So I know the starter's good, which I was pretty certain it was anyways. It did get really hot last night, but I was cranking on it a lot, so I guess that makes sense. I was fairly certain that the starter was already good because I did take the signal wire out and hook a test light to it, and I went and turned the key and looked at it from inside the cab, and the test light never lit up. So I know I don't have power there. So I checked the fuse. The fuse is good. So now I have to go through and check the ignition and make sure the ignition's working right, and make sure that the clutch safety switches are good. Something crapped out, and now I can't even turn it over to try to start it again today. So we got to actually fix the car before we can try to start the car, I guess. So I'm going to start digging into those wiring and see if I can figure this stupid starter out, and then I will get back to you as soon as I have an answer. Stay tuned.
The next morning.
Alright guys, so now it is currently Monday, and I am back out here again. I figured out why the starter would not turn over. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. I ended up burning up both relays, starter relays. So I had to swap those out. So I stole the AC relays and shoved them in where the starter relays go. She turns over again. Still wasn't able to get it start, so I hit up the tuner and kind of talked to him. He sent me a revised base map for it. Take a little fuel out of it. I think it was really fat. I could be wrong, but it did smell rich, really rich. So he sent me a revised base map. I'm going to load that in right now, and we're going to see if this thing will actually fire and run. So kind of exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna get the laptop loaded up, get this base map put in, and then I'll set up the GoPro and we will try to fire this thing and see if she actually pops off this time. What's going on, guys? Sorry I didn't actually get the car running in this video, but you know, we made progress. It almost did. I'm not really sure exactly why the thing just wouldn't pop off. And then when I was editing this video, that backfire, I don't know if that came out the intake. It's the only thing I can think of, and I don't know why I did that. I mean, I've checked the timing on the engine multiple times, and it's spot on. Like, the marks are, all the timing marks are where they're supposed to be. Unless I'm just looking at it wrong, which I don't know how I could be, the timing's on. You know, I checked spark and it had spark. Now is the spark strong enough with this CPR kit? That's kind of what's in question now. So I just went ahead, I ordered a distributor and plug wires. We're just gonna throw it back to stock, like, ignition system. I'm just gonna throw a distributor and wires on there, crank it, and we're gonna see what happens. If it fires and runs with the distributor, we know it's in that coil unplug retrofit kit from Honda. You know, which, you know, a lot of people, from what I'm hearing, a lot of people have issues with that CPR kit. I don't know. I mean, it's my first go around with that thing, so who knows? I mean, hindsight being 2020, I should have bought Fuel Tech and we'd probably already have the car running by now. But it is what it is. So we're gonna just push with what we got and try to make it work, and hopefully in the next video this thing's actually running. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, hit the like button. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And see you guys in the next video. Peace.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase.